idea. Anyway, hello there and welcome to the channel. And in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about the one mistake. It's the one mistake that you are going to want to avoid when it comes to overwintering your garden plants. I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm going to tell you why we do it. I'm going to tell you how to do it. And I'm going to tell you the mistake that everybody makes. Come on, this is a good one. So I'm talking about mulches, and you might say, Simon, I know all about mulches. You put them down early spring. They're there to suppress weeds. They're there to add nutrition into the soil, and they help to maintain moisture levels in the soil so they don't dry out so much in the summer. You don't have to put so much water down. But those are not the mulches that I am talking about. I'm talking to you about dry mulches, and dry mulches are often inorganic mulches, but not always, such as your tumbled glass beads. It could be slates, it could be colour gravels. I wouldn't go anywhere near plastic stuff, but they're all there to give us some kind of protection around the base of the plants. So what's so special about dry mulches, and why do we use them to overwinter some of our more tender plants? Well, that's the next bit. So when I'm talking about your regular organic mulches, I think typically you're thinking about homemade organic compost or blended, well composted farm manures. The problem with using these to act as protection to overwinter the roots of your tender plants, there's a problem because over time or with rain, these organic composts, they can sort of like sink down, compress, and if you get ground penetrating frost, it can freeze the mulch that's on above the soil, and then actually just keep moving down through wet soil, and then until it freezes the roots. So that's not what we're trying to achieve with a winter mulch, which is why there will be some protection with a regular mulch if you decide to put that down late autumn, early winter, but it's not ideal. So when it comes to protecting your tender plants, the tender root systems over the winter, then what you really want is a dry mulch. And I'm talking about gravels, and I'm talking about one of my favourite one, a mini bark chip. And the reason why they work is because of this. They work because within the structure of your gravel, within the structure of your mini bark chips, you have loads and loads of air pockets, and these air pockets act as an insulation. Now, if you've applied your dry mulch and it rains, then the water just passes through, melts away into the soil, and then the air pockets are still there, actively working as air pockets, which means they're actively working as a good insulation. So if temperatures drop, you start getting air frost, and these turn to ground frost, then it's much harder for the cold temperatures to freeze down and make their way through that dry mulch, because it's got air, it hasn't got water in it. And that's why, that is the beauty of the dry mulch, is that its insulation properties. They work, they do a fantastic job, and they're far better and more effective than a regular mulch, which will lose all its air pockets as it compresses down in time and water. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. So when it comes to the mistakes that people make, well, you should already know this by now. Don't put down a regular mulch when what you're trying to put down is a dry mulch. And if you do put down a regular mulch, always make sure that there is a gap between the mulch and the base of the stem of the plant. Now, too often I see people just chuck down his mulches on the top and leave them there, and they'll be touching the stem. The reason why you don't want that is because the stems can soften, and that can open the stems to infection from fungal diseases. So no, and flipping no. Now, if you've been good and you've done your research, then you've probably found out that pretty much all dry mulches that are recommended are going to be gravels. Now, I don't particularly like to use gravel as a dry mulch. I'll tell you why. It's because then you've got to get rid of the gravel. Now you have a few choices. You could rake it away, you could dig it in, but the trouble is if you start digging in a gravel mulch and you're digging it into the root system that you're trying to protect, and you're ripping all the roots up, that doesn't do anybody any favours. So I don't use gravels, or very rarely use gravels as a dry mulch. I like to use the mini bark chips. Now, these do rot over time, which has a benefit insofar as it releases nutrition into the soil, but then if it's rotting, it's reducing the air pockets. But let's be honest with you, it's going to work for one winter. That's absolutely fine, and then you can just rake it away. It just goes back into the soil. You don't need to think about it, you don't need to look at it. So that is my preferred choice. You can choose whichever one you want, but just remember, do you really want piles of gravel around the garden? Because I don't want that, unless of course you have a border and it's already got a gravel on top. You're just topping up areas where the protected plants are growing. Before I go, I'm just going to show you the sort of plants that we have in our garden that are going to benefit from a dry mulch this year, and then hopefully you'll know all about dry mulches, the plants that you're going to put them under, and everything will be hunky-dory for the spring. So let's quickly show you around. Obvious one, dahlias. Dahlias. Now on the whole, I just leave these in the ground. I don't really do too much with them, but the last couple of years we've had temperatures quite cold, so once you get the first hard frost and all these stems black enough to get taken out, then you can cut these stems straight down to the ground level and put a mulch straight on top of that, and that'll be absolutely fine. And it's the same for these as it is for your ginger lilies. And look at this little pickle, just putting out some more flowers. This is a hedychium or hedychium country cream, but you can see over there on that ginger there, it's starting to die back, and once that's died down, it's had hard frost in it, you can cut it straight back, dry mulch on top of that too. Your more tender agapanthus like your africanus, that will need a dry mulch because they are not hardy enough. And while your hardy fuchsias like this Delta Serra won't really need a dry mulch, anything that is a wee bit on the tender side, that definitely will need a dry mulch on it. Canna lilies, these will need a dry mulch. Hardy banana, to be honest with you, they don't really need it. I'll tell you what does need it. These 3 days, these definitely need a dry mulch in it. They're not, well, they're not really hardy enough to stay outside over the winter if you get a really cold winter, and the root system's just way too big to start lifting and protecting, so I'm not going to bother doing that. So dry mulch for these, definitely. And look at that, they're so close to coming to flower, but we've got hard frost tomorrow night, so again, another year, no opening flowers. And there you have it. That is my one mistake to avoid when it comes to overwintering your tender plants. And if there is anything you'd like to add, or if you just plain disagree with everything that I've said, then put that in the comments. We would genuinely love to hear from you. Anyway, before I go, I've just got one last message from me. In the past, when the weather was warm, it was warm, and now it's flipping cold. See you later. Right, now, just before you go, if you want to see more content, more behind the scenes stuff, and images that I've taken of some weird freaky plants over the years, then you're in luck, because we've created an Instagram page. So you can find the link in our description, you can find the link on our main page, and if I'm clever enough, I might be able to get a link somewhere up there. Anyway, thank you for watching, and if you want to see more YouTube stuff, then check out this video here. That's quite a good one. And if it doesn't float your boat, then another one right there. And enjoy these while I've still got the strength, imagination and aptitude to make them. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.